Hi everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. I know it's been a hot minute. I had somebody tell me the other day, it's been a long time since you made a cooking video, so I thought I'd come back in here and we'd see what we can get going. So what I've got for you today, if you've ever been to a restaurant or you've watched one of those cooking shows where they put a little smear of something down on the plate, it looks really fancy, and the cooking contest shows always say it's the sauce that brings everything together. But when you're in a situation like so many of us are, where you're trying to watch calories and fat, you don't want a sauce that's real fatty or oily or anything like that. So I have something here that I've been doing for the last several months that I think is going to make it so that you can have a nice sauce or a little smear on the plate underneath your protein that'll make things really good. And I've had this on red meat, I've used it on fish, I've used it on chicken. It's really very versatile, and it only takes a few ingredients. So first thing we have to do is go to the garden and get some herbs. This is my little herb garden here. I've got basil, which is going to get trimmed back a little bit today. There's some parsley, some oregano, and rosemary. I grew all these from seeds, and it's just, if you really need fresh herbs, this is really all you need, is a little box, some dirt, and some seeds. So I'm going to trim some of these off. Now, I read that when you do basil particularly, you're supposed to get it right at where there's one of these junctures, and that will help it kind of bush out a little bit better. So we're getting a little basil. I'll take some parsley. Just get some of these longer bits here. I'll go ahead and take a little oregano. And again, some of these are bigger. As you can tell, we've just had some rain this morning here in Northeast Florida, so they're nice and fresh and they're washed. And of course they're organic because they've never had anything on them but water and sunlight. And I'll go ahead and grab a little sprig of rosemary here as well. Now, that's going to be my herb contingent for the recipe today. Let's go get started. So here are the herbs. We just got these out of the little garden, and you don't have to have a big old garden, you just have a little garden. And I'm going to take a lot of these off the stems, and then we'll chop them up, not too fine, because that's all going to be taken care of with technology in just a little bit. But this is the basil. All that comes off. Got another bit of basil here. The thing about using fresh herbs like this is they just smell fantastic. I love the smell of fresh herbs, and nothing smells quite like them. This basil is so pungent right now that you've got some really good fresh herbs. Let's start with the rosemary next, another very pungent herb, very flavorful. Adds a very unique profile to a lot of things. And we'll just strip these leaves off of the stems. You could go ahead and do the stems. It really wouldn't hurt anything to leave the stems on it. But this just makes it a little bit different consistency to just have the leaves. And this is the tedious part, in case you couldn't tell. But it's worth it to have the fresh herbs. Now, if you've bought herbs, fresh herbs at the grocery store, that's cool. I mean, it works exactly the same. They still smell good. They still taste good. My thing about growing my own herbs is I kept going to the grocery store and I'd buy a package of herbs for, a couple of bucks, maybe $3, depending on the store. And I'd bring it home and I'd use what I needed and put it in the refrigerator. And the next time I needed it, they were no longer usable. So for just a very little effort and not very much money, I think that little herb garden I showed you cost me all of about $30 between the box, the seeds, and the dirt. This is parsley, by the way. Actually, no, that's the oregano with the round leaves. The parsley has the serrated leaves. All of that's just going to go in the same pile. And so I thought, you know, I'm home most of the day. I've got time. I've got space for a little herb garden. Doesn't need to be much. I need to add mint to it because Andy does like to use mint in a couple of the things that she makes. So I should probably add mint to my garden. I'll do that next spring when I do another one, although I could do it now, I suppose. Almost would need another box. That box, as you could see, was getting pretty full. But fresh herbs, there's just something about, it was way fun to put them in the little pots that you saw out there and watch them sprout and come up and get established and then put them into the larger bed, and just was very gratifying to see all that grow. And now, of course, in the summertime, when we've got almost daily rain, they're just going great guns. So, almost finished here. Just getting all those stems off so we don't have those in our sauce. Now, there's not going to be any cooking involved here. Nothing is going to get heated. We're just going to have some fun. Okay, now, grab a knife. We'll gather all these together like this, and we're just going to give them a real coarse chop just to get things started. All those are going to go together. Like that, and that's plenty good enough. Now, throw away the stems. That's going to go in this carafe. Every kitchen needs one of these, and that's a very handy little item to have for so many things. It's called a pastry knife, but as you can see, it's good for a lot of stuff. So we're going to put all those herbs right down there in the carafe. Next on our hit parade is some fresh spinach. As you can tell, this is going to be a very bright green sauce. And I'm just going to get a good handful of spinach out of there. And as we all know about spinach, the way it starts is never the way it finishes. So, get that put away. I wish I could find more of these, but I'm not sure where I got them. Okay, Amazon probably. Or as they say, a mail order service named after a river in South America. We're going to coarsely chop the spinach. And throw that in there as well, and just stuff it in. Okay. That's pretty good. Now, I'm going to add a clove of garlic. Just get that peeled. Again, we'll get that started on a coarse chop. A little kosher salt. And let's use some of this garlic Parmesan seasoning. It's a little extra garlic, but that's okay. Now, gee, you're saying, what makes it creamy, Tom? This is kind of the magic thing. It is fat-free small curd cottage cheese. And I'm going to get about, I'm going to have to open a separate one, but about 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese. I've done this with fat-free Greek yogurt as well. Also works well. Just depends on the kind of flavor you want. The fat-free Greek yogurt gives it a little bit more of a tangy flavor. The cottage cheese is a little saltier and maybe just a little more mellow. So here we go. Get that in there like that. That's about 3/4 of a cup. I'll probably wind up adding more, so we'll leave that out. And that goes in here as well. And now we apply mechanics. I've told you often about my stick blender. This is one of the most versatile tools a kitchen can have. And here we go. Now we're all the way to the bottom. There we go. I'm actually going to add a little more cottage cheese to that and just kind of beef it up a little bit now that I've got it to a point where I can get more cottage cheese in it. So we'll do that. I know, but it's my kitchen and nobody else is going to be eating this. So, except Andy, and she doesn't care if I lick the spoon. If you were making it for a dinner party, you probably wouldn't want to do that. Okay. Let's clean off the blender part of the blender. I made so much of this kind of stuff that I killed a stick blender. And I'm making a mess, but then anyone who knows me and has seen me cook before knows that I make a mess. I'm not apologetic about it. I do cook with some reckless abandon. Now, this will firm up a little bit in the refrigerator, but I just want to show you when you have, let's get some of this out of the way. So if you're getting ready to serve and you want to put something underneath the protein, it's a real easy thing. And like I said, it'll be a little bit firmer after it refrigerates. But you just take a little of this, you put it on the plate and give it a schmear. Just like you see on all the cooking shows and competition shows and in the restaurant, it really is just that easy. So now I'm going to put this actually back in here because I don't want to waste that. I just wanted to show you kind of how that worked. And now we're going to talk about storage. So when it comes to storage for these, I've become a big fan of ball jars. And I put them in these small ones, and I've got ball jars of various sizes. And I'll show you another little trick for potential long-term storage. It's not a trick, but it's a gizmo. All right. With that, we just pour. It's such a cool color, and it tastes so herby and delicious. We're just going to pour those into the jars like that. Let me get a little spatula because I don't want to leave that much in there. Make sure we get it all. It's pretty even. Sometimes I get a little carried away trying to get as much of it out of this carafe as I can, but what the heck? It's really good. Now, we all know about heat canning, but this isn't something that I'm going to try and hang on to for months and months. But I do this with a lot of stuff. I have asparagus out in the refrigerator outside that, you know how fast asparagus goes off. So if I'm going to keep one of these for a while, I have this handy little item, which is it pulls a vacuum on the jar. And this one I'm just going to close up and put in the fridge because that'll get used tonight for a start. But now you see I've got a vacuum seal on that jar, which has pulled the air out, which is one of the things that makes things go off. So there you have it. It's a really great sauce, and it's healthy. It's just herbs and spinach and cottage cheese and a little seasoning. All there is to it, and a $15 stick blender. So easy to do. I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks very much for joining me. We'll see you next time.